And I was like, you know what? I'm going to write down the 5 craziest stories that I have and tell them to the audience. So if you guys are looking for some fun, here they come. Hey, they left a leaf in the flower bed. A leaf? A leaf. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what? This is so bizarre. The weirdest one with employees was I almost got in a fist fight. I've never even gotten a fist fight in my life, y'all. I said, thought you were a mature adult and you're being a little man. I shouldn't have done that. But I did. But I did.
Welcome to the Green Up Academy podcast with Alex Kirby, where we focus on helping you level up your green industry business. Whether it's marketing, finance, employees, or strategy, we talk about everything on this show to help you apply it to your business and change your family and company's future for decades to come. Here's your host, Alex Kirby.
What's up, Green Up Academy podcast listeners? This is your host, Alex Kirby. Hope you're doing great today. Wherever you're mowing, wherever you're growing, hope you're doing awesome. Seriously, man, if you're not doing great, let me know. I'd love to pray for you and tell you a funny joke or something. But yeah, if you guys don't know, this is the Green Up Academy podcast where we talk about all things green industry, man, all things business related to the green industry. We are trying to help you grow your green industry business, take it to that next level, boy. Okay, so today I thought we'd do something fun in this episode. By the way, this podcast is sponsored by Jobber and Backbone Creative, so I appreciate Jobber. If you guys use our code, 14-day free trial, save a lot of money. Jobber's the best CRM on the market. And then Backbone Creative is my marketing agency where we do all things marketing for your green industry company, from websites to social media marketing to turnkey. We do everything. So let me know if we can ever help you do that. And if you use the code GREENUP10 when you email in or fill out a quote form, we'll save you 10% off of some services. So thank you guys. Today I'm going to do something fun on this episode. I'm going to reflect back on the craziest 5 stories of me owning Trifecta Landscaping. If you guys don't know, I sold my green industry business at 7-figure business, 25 employees. I sold it last year. And I was just thinking about, as I had some crazy stories I've heard from some guys that we do some consulting with. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to write down the 5 craziest stories that I have and tell them to the audience. So if you guys are looking for some fun, here they come. Get your popcorn ready. Get your liquid death. I just saw that today. Liquid death. I can't believe how big of a company that's gotten for just water in a can. What a genius marketer, that guy. I read the story today about Liquid Death, y'all. The way he came up with that idea was he's like a rock and roller in that kind of scene. And I can't remember who he worked for, but he basically was like, man, like I saw band members, because they were sponsored by Monster and they couldn't drink, they had to hold the can, that they would dump water into the Monster can just so they would use the can because that was their sponsor thing. He's like, why can't we get cool cans like energy drink cans are for water? And so that's where he came up with the idea, Liquid Death, murder your thirst. What a genius. But anyway, so I've got some 5 funny stories to tell y'all. And I'm going to start off with this one. About who we call the crazy lady from California. So I'm in South Carolina, guys, which is the exact opposite end of the country from California. And, we all talk about like stay away customers, like just stay away when you meet them, no matter how great their property is. Well, for some reason, I always had that. Like as a quick turnoff. Like I was not into like crazy customers, but we kind of dominated this one rich, really nice house, this neighborhood on the lake. And she called, her neighbors recommended us. And we had already had like 6-7 houses in there. I mean, these tickets were like $400 or $500 a month. So it was really great. But I remember her calling and everything seemed normal. And then we get to the house, the guys do the service, and she calls like immediately as they're leaving, like pulling out. And she goes, when we did the quote, she was like, well, I'm not home. So I didn't think anything of it. My manager didn't think anything of it, but like immediately after they pull off the property, she calls the office and we're like, hello. And she's like, hey, they left a leaf in the flower bed. A leaf? A leaf. I'm like, okay. How do you know? Well, my daughter is at the property. I'm still in California. And she told me to tell you. I'm like, what? This is so bizarre. I'm like, you don't even live there yet? No. Me and my husband are moving soon. My daughter moved. And I'm like, okay, who's taking care of her? Well, she's 41. I'm like, oh gosh. So her 41-year-old daughter, what we come to find out, her 41-year-old daughter was standing upstairs, like basically with binoculars, pulling back the window coverings, like watching and spying on our guys. And that there's something she didn't think looked right, she'd call her mom would call us. It was so bizarre. Well, I just was like, oh gosh, this is going to be terrible. We should probably fire this customer. Well, we didn't. Then like 3-4 weeks later, we did weekly service. It just blew up on us. She gives me, this is why it was funny. She ended up giving us a speech about like, I guess she assumed everyone in South Carolina loved Trump. She's like, I'm a pro-Trumper, and I love Trump and, these gas prices in Russia. And she just went off on this like political tangent about, how we need to respect her and do as she says, and she's a hard-paying customer, and these are not conservative values, the way we're acting. And I'm like, man, first off, we don't talk like politics at work. Like, we're just a company that does a good job. Second off, you're only getting this information from your daughter who's spying on our guys up top. You don't even know this firsthand. And so she ended up writing me this long email about, again, another like political tangent about self-respect and listening to customers. And so we ended up letting her go. But the funny part of it, again, is like this daughter, I'm just imagining this 41-year-old daughter getting straight out of bed with like frizzle hair with binoculars, just watching my guys edge and mow her yard. So that was pretty funny. That was one of the weirdest like situations with a customer. The weirdest one with employees was I almost got in a fist fight. I've never even gotten a fist fight in my life, y'all. But I had a really hard time one summer with employees, and these were employees that had been there for a while. We lost like 6 or 7 employees within a week. One guy moved abruptly. One guy left to take a crew leader job at the big company in town. He took 3 guys with him because he got a bonus if he brought guys with him of $200 or something a piece. And he offered them 50-cent raises, and they all left. So that sucked. And then we fired a guy for him was fighting a customer. It was like the most bizarre week ever. Well, those guys, I always do, just so you guys know, you should always do this. We pay a week behind in case guys don't turn in their uniforms because our uniforms were expensive. They were like $40 a jersey and the hat and the pants. So like they had, anywhere of like $300 to $400 worth of stuff. And so 2 of the guys who had quit abruptly, I texted them and said, hey, no, that's not true. That's not true. I did text him that, but I forgot. This guy, I had bought him a car and I try to take care of my employees. I bought him a car. He'd been with me 2.5 years and he had abruptly quitted with no notice. And I was pretty upset, and I probably shouldn't have said this, but I called him a little man. I said, I thought you were a mature adult and you're being a little man. I shouldn't have done that. But I did. And so when he came in to turn his uniforms in, so we got his final check, his brother was the one that quit with him. They both came, and another guy of those guys that quit came. And I didn't realize he was so upset because he never responded, but he came into my face, and thankfully I was in front of one of the cameras in our building. And he got in my face and was like, I'm a little man, huh? He obviously cursed me out. And I said, what was his name? Bob. I'll say Bob. Bob, there's a camera right there. I don't think you really want to do this. His pro says, it's not worth it, man. And he threw the uniforms on the ground and left. But boy, I thought I was about to get jumped by 3 guys. Haven't heard from him since. Not my best. I should not have called him a little man, but I did. And it's pretty funny looking back. But yeah, I almost got jumped and destroyed by some former employees. So that was great. I'm trying to see what else I wrote down here. First big job I ever did. So was a complete mess, and it's hilarious because I should have never done it, but no one told me, and I was like just starting. So I was like, I got to do this. When I first started my company, I was broke and how we all are. We're like, man, I got to get it going. Well, I did this really cool job where like we did like 15 bales of pine straw for this random person, which we make like no money on. We did a good job. So she called me back the next day and was like, hey, you guys did a great job. I'd love to give you another job. Here's 8 yards of mulch. And at that point, like 8 yards of mulch with the profit margin we had, like $55 in there. I was like, man, that's $500. That really helps me. So we did that, and we did it in the pouring rain because they had dropped the mulch off and it started raining. So we did it. Well, we come to find out her husband's the CEO of this big company, and he was like impressed with us. So he asked me, he called me to his office and he said, can you do this job? We need these plants planted, and we need this border around it, and we need maintenance. It was awesome. It was a $30,000 job. They needed the old plants ripped up, and the maintenance a month was $600. It was insane. I had never even dreamed of getting a job that size. But unfortunately, instead of like subbing someone, I didn't know this yet. Like I was only 4 months in, guys. I didn't know that you could like, oh, you know what? I can't do this, but let me sub it out and like make $4 or $5 grand. Like be happy with that. I totally screwed it up. I had never done planting. I had never done rip out. All I did was hire a tractor guy to come and rip the old plants out. It was a mess. I did such a bad job. Thankfully, he didn't sue us, but he he fired us from the maintenance not too long after that because he was so upset with the plants and the irrigation we put in and stuff. And I literally did it off YouTube. And so it's pretty funny that my first big job, like you got it for the right reasons because you did a good job on the small stuff and like God blessed you, but I did such a bad job because I was kind of, excuse me. Sorry, y'all, I'd be yawning here, but I did such a bad job because I was being kind of greedy and wanting that income to grow our business. There was one night there we had to put in 60 yards of mulch, and I stayed out till like 11 o'clock at night with headlights on, putting it out, like just to get paid. So it's pretty funny to do that terrible job. I actually ended up writing that guy a letter like a few months later once I got my stuff together and apologized. But thankfully he handled it really cool. But that was really fun. Yeah, that was funny. And then probably the last one, here's I'll stay with 4. The last one that's maybe the most bizarre is towards the end of my business. We had a great business going. We were hiring for an admin coordinator. And my director of operations at the time had interviewed this female first, and I interviewed her second. She's like, man, she's great. She's going to do awesome. I can't wait to hear what you say. So I took her into the conference room and started talking to her. I was like, hey, so tell me about yourself. And she's like, blah, 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 blah. Well, I've been unemployed. I haven't had a job for a while, or have a car. I said, well, how'd you get here? Well, I took an Uber. Okay, where do you live? Well, I rent a house. I said, well, you just said you're unemployed. How do you have a house? And I didn't even really think about it that I'd asked, like they weren't really connecting those stories. And she was a really pretty girl. And she kind of looks at me and looks at the ground. I said, look, I told you, and I told her this already, that we're very transparent, honest, open. We don't judge people. Like, we're just, that's who we are as an organization. And she looks up, she goes, have you ever heard of OnlyFans? And I'm like, I hope my face didn't reveal what my heart and my mind did. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, yeah, I've heard of it. She's like, well, that's what I have to do right now to make ends meet. And was like, okay, what do I say right now? If you guys don't know what OnlyFans is, it is, adult film stuff. And so I didn't even know what to say. I remember trying to just be like, okay, I'm obviously not going to hire her. Let me make her feel as comfortable as possible and get her out of here. And so I told her I'd follow up with her. And the funniest part of the story is when I went back in to tell our director of operations, she was like, how was it? And I was like, it was great. She's a OnlyFans model. And this is a female, and her jaw just dropped to the floor. And she's like, no way. How could you possibly have got her to tell you that? And I still don't know how I got her to tell me that. But it's pretty hilarious that we were about to hire a girl that was a adult film star. So thankfully, I dug a little more and got the real answer out of that. But those are kind of, I got one written down, but I wrote it so fast I don't know what I said here. It's okay. So those are 4 really funny stories, man. Like I have so many stories about things that happen, whether it be customers, whether it be employees, whether it be in the office stuff. But I just want to share those 4 so y'all could get a good laugh out of it while you're listening, whether you're on the mower, driving in your car with your kids, whatever you're doing. We all have them. I know that you guys have stories that, you couldn't believe. I mean, another story that just popped in my head was the first day I got my first ever new mower. I slid it 20 feet down into a pond, and thankfully the back wheels didn't go all the way in where the engine was, and I had to call my dad to tow it out the second I put it on a property for the first time. We all have those hilarious stories, and I think we should share them more because they're so funny. And so if you guys got kicks out of these, I'd appreciate it. Maybe you can do a story and tag the Green Up Academy with yours, and I'll share it all over the place, and we'll just call it lawn care humor, like hashtag lawn care humor or something. So I appreciate you guys for listening to this episode. Make sure you go and like, subscribe, and give us a 5-star review. And we'll see you next time, guys. This is Alex, the Green Up Academy podcast. Keep mowing, keep growing, keep leveling up. See you next time.